the thing that I think redeems people in the single man company position is the fact that the connection that we can potentially have with a customer is going to be greater than any other company. If we do our work properly and we service our customers as best we can, I think that's the best possible connection. And you will have customers that will come back to you not because they searched online to find you, because they trust you and they don't even check anywhere else. And you accumulate those customers over time with a successful small business. And I think that's how that protects you from some of these issues. That's probably the best advice that I would have.
Yeah, I just think that people right now are not patient anymore. I mean, the patience is just isn't there. People just Amazon, like I said, it's an Amazon world. People want it now, and they can get it now, or they want it from one exclusive place. I mean, everybody you know, your brother, your sister, your neighbor, they all have Prime accounts, and they all order from Amazon. And like I said, even last year when I was having issues getting parts, like even hard start capacitors, I couldn't get a hard start kit, a KS1 hard start kit on my distributor for the life of me. And I was like, man, it's a simple thing. Easy traps. I'm like, you guys don't have an easy trap? Are you kidding me? You don't have SS2 switches? I would go on Amazon and I would get them, and not only get them, I'd get them cheaper. Yeah. I mean, I was paying $54 for a KS1 hard start kit at Carrier Distribution or Total Line, and I go online on Amazon and get it for $37. And I was like, shit, I'm going to order 10 of those.
Save 8% off your order at TrueTechTools.com by using the Shop Talk discount code. Good morning and welcome to HVAC Shop Talk in the morning. It's only been like 12 hours since I last did this. For those of you who were there, you got to witness a medical breakdown. It was tough. It was one of them days when I was like, hey, you know what? You don't have to stream every day, Zach. And then a little voice in my head said, Zach, if you don't stream every day, then it will become 2 days, then 3 days, and you're going to be living in a box in about 2 weeks. That's my perception there, however faulty it might be. So that's what I do. I try to stay with it every single day. We made it through there. I actually had some really good conversations last night with Brent Ridley, who called in. I had to have Brent call in because he came on there saying that I blocked his call last time, which is obviously not true. I like Brent. I like him a whole lot. So we talked about tools for a while. And I talked to Adam Heisch, one of my buddies going way back to the Skilled Trade Up. Had a good conversation about geothermal units. So if you haven't checked that out, please do that. Some of the things you can do here, if you enjoy this video, put a thumbs up on it. Leave a comment in the live chat. Leave a comment after the video if you want. I will remind you that once these videos are over, I will make them unlisted. You can still access them by going to my channel. There's a playlist called HVAC Shop Talk Live. You can watch all these videos, but I'm going to make them unlisted because at that point they become a podcast, which is where most of you guys end up listening to them while you're at work. So let's take a look at the comments here. Let's see who is here this morning. Hey, look, we have Albert Matar. He's the guy that was in the intro right there talking about the Amazon products. He's an HVAC owner from Charlotte. I'm just going to tell you guys, I have a good feeling about this show. I haven't had the need to start hacking uncontrollably. I think I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. That's me hitting my desk right there. Imminent failure is coming. Thomas Leck is here. Everything HVACR is here. Good morning, everybody. just remember, you don't catch these things in the morning because they're going to be at different times of day. Don't worry about it. The podcast is where they're all headed, so you know where to find that anytime. And I can't tell you that it's going to be a similar time every day because last night and the night before it was both at 9 p.m., which is hopefully going to be atypical because by 9 p.m., my battery personally is about 25%, and I'm about ready to go to bed. So I figure it would be better to do it early, which is what we're doing this morning, which is good. Coffee. That's right, Thomas, coffee. That'll do it. I try to take plenty of amphetamines. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I should say that on the air. Should I combine them all together? What I do is I go to the drugstore. You know what? We'll talk about that later. That's fine. I don't want to say too much here. I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm joking. That's just for you video watchers right there. All right, so this morning I have Tyler Nelson with me, and here's how I wrote up the introduction, and I think that Tyler will like this. So, he's a renowned HVAC guy. He's been on the show before. This is his second time, or as Dave Richardson said, that was 50 shows ago for Dave Richardson. He's been on the show 50 times. I'm pretty sure, like I said, he hosts the show, I think. I'm not quite sure. But Tyler was on the cast of The Sopranos. That's what I wrote. And his name on the show was Giuseppe Petri. Was his name Giuseppe Petri, and he was responsible for shooting Alphonse Mugliotti at the gas station in episode 7 of season 4. So that is Tyler Nelson. I'm going to bring him in here right now. Let's see if I can do the internet here. Plop. And there he goes. What's up, Tyler?
Oh, geez. Well, thank you, Zach, for that wonderful intro. And listen, no applause just for money, because if I'm acting and I'm whacking all these people, then I'm doing pretty good. But as you can see from our last visit, still bald, and I still have god awful genetics. But since we spoke last, though, bald people like myself now have a savior.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
If you make fun of us, he will whip smack your cheeks, and his name is Will Smith.
I saw that.
So I guess he will put his Fresh Prince on you if you say something. But yeah, so we all have a hero now, and I guess he's a legend. So it is what it is out there in the world. So watch what you say to us bald folk out there. We're having enough struggles. Listen, it's a dog eat dog world, and we're all wearing milk bone shorts. So we're just trying to get by, right?
That's absolutely right. That Will Smith thing, that's pretty funny. It's pretty funny because at first glance I was like, man, he just smacked Chris Rock. I like Chris Rock. He just hit Chris Rock for a joke that wasn't that bad, no matter what your wife's got. It was just kind of funny. And then I realized that, he's like subservient to his wife. He's like some kind of emotional attack dog. It was really funny. It's like all of a sudden I was really sad for Will Smith. At first I was like, what a jerk. And then I was like, oh, that's sad. That's bad.
Yeah, I saw a crazy interview with them where she has obviously committed adultery in the relationship multiple times, but she calls it an entanglement. I guess it's kind of like wrestling with no clothes on. It's some kind of an entanglement, but that's what she refers to it as. So I guess that's going to be the buzzword now. You're in an entanglement.
Oh, I like that. This is like George Carlin's soft language, how shell shock has become post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yep.
It's like all of a sudden, it's like, what does he say? All the emotion has been drained from the word and it means nothing any longer.
Exactly it. Exactly.
Tissue paper. It's not toilet paper. Bathroom tissue. It's hilarious. But that's not why we're here. That's funny.
Right.
I'm going to leave off some of your other stuff. I was also going to mention you were the ACA president. I was going to ask you if there's an ACA vice president, an ACA head of state, ACA secretary of defense.
No. But we have treasurers. We have other people in the offices. But no, we serve a 2-year tenure when you're in the state level, which was a fun quest. And ACA is a great organization. So if you're not a member and if you're in HVAC, which you probably are listening to this, I encourage you to become a member because it's great for the industry, and you'll get a lot back. You'll get a lot back, and you put a little bit in, you'll get even more back from it. So it's a great experience.
Absolutely. I've read a lot of books. I don't really like stuff like Wuthering Heights or Jane Eyre. I mention those because I was made to read them in school.
Yeah.
But I can really get on board with Manual N and Manual J. Those are pretty good. I enjoy those. I like
stuff that would put other people to sleep. We enjoy reading, which basically is an indictment on our mental state. So there is that.
That's right. So today is going to be combustion analysis, and we have a live audience, so anyone who wants to ask a question can. I will monitor the chat as best I can, being a host of the show. So if you have a question, don't be afraid to write it 2 or 3 times in all caps or something like that. But we're going to start with, it's like a preventive maintenance, because you kind of hooked them together between the combustion database, as we talked before the show, combustion database and this predictive capacity that you would serve as an HVAC technician. Will you set it up by kind of describing the database just like we did before the show?
Sure. When we talk about combustion, one of the things that's been lacking is us being able to take the reporting that we do or the combustion data and kind of give it to a customer for them to use going forward, maybe for some future planning. And this falls more into the hands of the commercial side of the business. But for example, and I'm just speaking strictly of our analyzers right now, because it's something that we produce, but there's other analyzers that produce great reporting as well. But we produce a report at Sauerman that is 3 to 6 pages long, and it runs from 3 to 6 because it depends on how many data points or snapshots in time that you're capturing combustion data, whether it be startup, steady state conditions, shutting down, or whether you just want to have it run for a period of time as you're making adjustments. But what you can do is, with the reporting that we produce, is you actually have a database that gives you all of the customer's address information, every single model and serial number that you work on, and all the relevant combustion data pertaining to it. Included in that is you also have a section for technician notes and also a section for job photos. And technician notes is important because currently right now, what a technician's doing, if they have to put some pertinent notes into a customer's file, they're calling their office. And then it becomes a telephone game where when it starts off, Johnny's wearing red shoes. And then by the time it gets put into the computer, it's like, no, Johnny is 8 months pregnant and he's crowning and we think he's going to give birth. So the story changes, jokingly. Yeah. So we like to have the information that we want to provide come from our mouths and be documented correctly. And that's where that notes section comes into play. So you take all this information and you can create a SharePoint file with it. And it's a PDF that you drop into the SharePoint file. So the next time a technician goes out there, they can actually just copy that PDF file, look at all the combustion data for that location, for that customer, for that model, and that serial number, look at all the technician's notes, look at the photos if there were any recordings that were captured, any video, and they know what's going on, from a standpoint of, okay, this is what we did before. This is what maybe I need to look at now, or I want to check certain things and make sure they're still good. But you can take that data, and especially for a commercial customer, and you can use it towards future planning. So in other words, if you want to plan on potentially a rooftop that's becoming a little bit weak in the knees, and you think it's probably not to be replaced in the next 1.5 to 2 years, well, what you can do is you can advise that customer, listen, here's your combustion data. Here's what we've done here over the past year. You're seeing some repairs starting to mount. It's going to come to the point where it's like driving a car cross country every day. You don't want to risk it. And that's when these rooftops get long in the tooth and they get older. You don't want to risk them crashing and then have an interruption in service and having to shut the system down, or the system shuts down on its own, has to be replaced. And given all the supply chain woes that we have, trying to order a rooftop is going to be a creative exercise for everybody this year, unless your distributor has anteed up. And as I travel this great land and everything, I see a lot of rooftops and a lot of distributors being ready, but you don't know if they're going to have the one that you need. So what this does is this gives you, the contractor, and the customer the freedom to control their own destiny. Because if you know roughly you got 1.5 to 2 years left approximately, that customer can start to stow away money into a side account. And what they can do is they can use that for funding their unit replacement. But this is where it changes. The unit replacement takes place on that customer's own terms. In other words, it doesn't mean the rooftop crashes and they have to send everybody home for a couple of days or however long the period is before that can get replaced so they can have heat in the building. No, it gets replaced when they're ready, which means the contractor can order it accordingly, take deposit accordingly, get everything set up so that the customer and the contractor control the variables instead of the environmental conditions or a lack of planning controls the variables for them. And then what you do, if you want to take it one step further, Zach, is after that unit is replaced, the energy savings that customer is going to capture, which you can tell on either on an energy bill or even comparing past efficiencies to current efficiencies from past reports to current for combustion, is take that energy savings that they're making, put that into that same side account, but now it's different because you're able to save that now over the next 10 to 12 years. And those amounts are going to be minuscule, but over a 10 to 12 period, you're looking at that rooftop potentially being self-funded again. and being able to be paid for with that money, and they're not going to miss it. It's kind of like saving for your 401k and you increase it by a percentage. You're not going to miss that percentage month to month as you go down the line. You're going to be used to it. And so there's ways of using our data, and there's ways of using combustion analysis that probably no one's maybe talked about before because our customers never wanted to take the time to listen. But now when they see us using technology similar to what they use in their own vocation or their own careers, they're going to kind of perk their ears up and listen a little bit. We, as we talked about before this, we bring comfort and peace of mind. Okay. But in the same token, we're lighting a fire in somebody's home. We have to make sure, or on top of somebody's building, we have to make sure we're controlling it and analyzing it. So we have responsibility, yes, but we also have a set of skills and technology at our ready that meets our customer base where they're at. So the playing field has been leveled because we've been looked upon, Zach, for years. And I think I maybe touched upon this in the last one. I'm not quite sure, but I talk about it a lot. We've been looked upon as for years. People look down their noses at us a little bit because our fingernails get dirty, because we get dirty. They don't understand the fact that, no, your $80,000 pickup that you're driving or $80,000 SUV that you're driving, we're driving the same pickups right next to you because we're intelligent, because we don't have gargantuan student loans to pay off, and we're able to add into this economy in ways that maybe you were not aware of. So if you thought we were the ones that sat in the back of shop class and failed, you're mistaken. We actually hold a valuable place in this economy and in this world.
Do you think the tide's changing on that now?
I do. As I travel, I see the way that the feedback from technicians, the way that they're treated now versus the way that they're maybe treated 10, 15 years ago, and we're evolving. But, we have to continue to evolve because this is one of the few industries left where we say to ourselves, you know what? And this is where we got to get caught in the quagmire of the stereotype, where we say, you know what? This is the way I've been doing it for the last 15, 20, 30, 40 years. This is what I'm going to keep doing. This is what I know. This is that old comfortable shoe. I don't want to touch new technology. I don't want to use a digital tool. I don't want to have an app on my phone. That is where we kind of get caught in that stereotype. It's those technicians that don't want to adapt to the way that the current world is and the way the technology is that kind of get not left behind, obviously, but kind of buck the trend and don't give themselves a chance to level up. Because even those technicians that don't want to adapt, they're smart. Even if I'm saying you don't like technology, you don't want to embrace it, trust me, I know you're highly intelligent. It's okay. And a lot of the times the old school ways are best. But if we can kind of pause for a moment and take a breath and marry the newer technology that we have available to us with the old school ways and virtues of doing things, I think that we have a recipe for success there that will carry us all forward long term, and we'll get the respect that we're due. Because I know I mentioned this last time, we're always the last ones to get paid. Remember that. Mm-hmm. Nobody gets any social mileage out of you doing anything mechanical for them. Outside of you putting up a mini split head looking perfectly and somebody's home installing an LG Art Cool. Outside of that, nobody gets any social mileage out of this. It's not a pristine pool. It's not a properly manicured lawn. We are the necessary evil that lives under the steps because that's where the furnaces and boilers and things like that live, but lives under the steps that they have to take care of. But that's changing, because again, what do? Comfort, safety, and we keep their stuff going long term for them. And when it's blisteringly hot outside in the summer, you keep their houses cool, or buildings cool. And when it's freezing outside, you keep them warm. So you help them. But again, no social mileage is garnered. So the relevancy or the importance to us maybe isn't paid the way that it should be.
Well, first, I've never installed an LG Art Cool, and I've seen them,
mm-hmm.
like pictures that are air conditioners.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a Cooper and Hunter head right here on the floor, right. But I have to draw the picture on it for it to be like that. I mean, I don't have like a picture on it.
Given your art skills, probably, and I'm just projecting that, I would probably use erasable markers if you're going to do that, Zach, because I don't want you to mess anything up and do anything.
I hope stick people are acceptable because that's what we're going to go with. I did want to say, you talked about old school, like the old school mentality. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not every old school person, like age-wise, fits into that category. Mm-hmm. But here's my impression of something, and you tell me what you think of it. I know that younger techs sometimes like to lump all of the certain age technicians into a certain category preemptively, and perhaps we do a little bit better with bringing everybody to the modern era if we're a little bit more receptive of the ones that came before us because they were smart, and they were smart with less data. So they had to make the same conclusion with less input or more inaccurate input. So I think that might be a good thing for the guys. Just take a moment and say, okay, I got all this cool stuff, but this other guy, he just had like a Cooper Atkins, I forget what they were, little red boxes or blue boxes, and he was measuring temperatures, but he still got the problem solved. So let's give him the respect he deserves.
Yeah, it comes down to this, I think. Success leaves clues. Okay.
Yeah.
The only reason that these people, these younger technicians, have a seat at the table is because the older school technicians allow it. And I'm not saying that because I have a lot of salt in my beard and I don't have a stitch of hair on my head. I'm saying it because the greatest things that I have learned from my mentors have been passed down to me because they've walked the path before me. They're trying to make our lives easier. Sometimes it feels like they're being very difficult on us or very hard on us and giving us a hard time and being very quick and very short with their patience. Is because if they don't act that way at certain times, we could wind up killing somebody or getting ourselves hurt or ruining a brand new part that we're supposed to put in correctly, and we fry it because we weren't paying attention. Coupled with that, Zach, with your comment, we all know, and if any of you have children, you can verify this. People today, and I sound like my father when I say this, or an older person when I say this, even though I am older, but the attention span, it's a very much an instant gratification world. If you can't figure it out in 4 seconds nowadays, somebody goes, if they're younger, they go and ask for help. No, you haven't spent a half hour trying to figure it out. You haven't spent the requisite time trying to figure it out. Don't just throw your hands up and give up and say, give me the answer, because you can normally find it on YouTube or online. Take the time, troubleshoot, go through it. Go through the basics first and then build from there. It's like football. Who do I block? What they call it, it's called the basic blocking scheme. Who do I block? Very simple, the person in front of you. You don't know who to hit in a blocking scheme, just hit the person in front of you.
That's what Will Smith did. I mean, he was
exactly. He surely hit the person in front of him.
Yeah.
And but if you break things down to the basics first and then work your way up from there, if you do finally have a question and that older school technician says to you, did you do this, and this, instead of you giving him the yeah or duh explanation, or if they ask you if you have a manometer and you say, I don't have a manometer, instead of you doing those things, you answer them accordingly and say, listen, I did go through X, Y, and Z. I did run those rudimentary checks. Now I think I'm a little bit overmatched. Can you help me with this? Now they're going to be freely giving of that additional information, those pearls of wisdom, because they've all been situational things for them as well. They've all learned from somebody. They all had their head bit off by somebody in the past because they didn't do things first and they just wanted to get a quick answer. So,
yeah.
But yeah, if we can blend those two parties together, and I do see it happening, but if we can blend those two levels of experience together so that we don't have much of a gray area, the contracting side of things will be a better place, because we need to level up our performance anyway. One of the reasons I'm here today and I was here last time and whatever we're going to do here in the future, some more sessions or whatever, it's filling the training void and the training vacuum that exists. That's why companies like NCI exist. That's why, David Richardson, Jim Davis, there's so much, brain power in those people's heads that everybody would be better people and smarter if they just even were in their presences for just 10 minutes, let alone taking a class. But those people like that are brilliant. Jim Bergman, another one. There's a lot of brilliant people out there that are super duper intelligent, that if we just tap into their knowledge before they no longer do this, or before they can no longer communicate with us because they're doing different things in their lives, if they eventually decide to retire or whatever. David's not. David's much younger, but it's we have a lot of resources available to us. It's like having living legends around. We should talk to some of the living legends, because they're going to be freely give up the information to you. They're going to tell you.
Yeah,
but be careful.
Free. That's the
free.
key. It's free a lot of the time.
Exactly. But be careful. If you're going to ask the question, you're going to want to have to sit for the answer, and it might not be the answer that you want.
Yeah.
But
that's a good thing, right? That's
Yep.
a good thing. If you don't get the answer you want, that's called learning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think you know everything, that's bad.
Yep.
That's not going to happen. All good, guys. David, I got to get David to come back on here. He's probably up in the morning. He could call into these things too. I have to get in touch with him.
Yeah, he's great.
I want to go back. Oh yeah, he's a real good one. I want to go back to we started talking about the preventive maintenance and tracking certain statistics, certain measurements to predict replacement. I want to come back to that. So when we're formulating a plan to track when a machine needs to be replaced, what are we tracking?
So we're looking at, obviously, if we're having issues with, like, for example, gas valve, if we're having issues with gas pressure, if we have to keep going back, that could be an indicator that we have to replace a valve. Or do we have an issue with an igniter? As we have, if we have a spike of CO at light off, what issues are we having as a result of that? And what are the parts and catalysts? Do we have delayed ignition for something? Delayed ignition is a precursor of other things, igniter problem or whatever the case may be. So we're looking at the O2, we're looking at the CO, we're looking at the CO2, we're looking at what makes up the basics of combustion, but then we project further. For example, if we're looking at our efficiency and we're comparing it to past results, if our efficiency is starting to fall off, we know we have challenges with that system, okay? Now, for those of you that are not aware that are listening to this, when we talk about efficiency on a combustion analysis report, it's not the overall efficiency of that appliance, okay? It is the efficiency of the combustion process, okay? It's not what's on the AFUE sticker. It's not that. Those are basically perfect conditions, 50 degrees, minimal load, what you're going to experience over the course of a year. So if it says it's to be 94%, it's minimal load, But for a combustion efficiency, and also that that efficiency number on the equipment takes into consideration first stage, second stage, modulating, variable speed, all those factors that make it more efficient. Whereas combustion efficiency, it doesn't care. It's what have you done for me lately, which is burning of the fuel. That's what it cares about.
Let me ask you something really quick because it has to do with what you just said.
Sure.
So if I draw the analogy, say, is AFUE to combustion efficiency what SEER is to EER? Is that similar?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly it. So when we talk about the combustion efficiency, it's the efficiency of burning that fuel. And now it can run anywhere from 2 to 4% close to that AFUE sticker, because if you take it on a snapshot of an entire year, then it's going to be closer because we're not going to have such high demand days. AFUE is this, Zach. AFUE, if we took all of us, right, we took 15 of us and we all put us on individual treadmills and we only asked us to sprint for 15 seconds, we all could do it, okay? Very, very simple. What real world is and what combustion is if, okay, we're going to put us all on treadmills. We're going to have us all sprint, but we're going to sprint for an hour full tilt. And let's see how fast we can go. And after about 30 seconds, our efficiency is going to fall off the face of the earth. We're going to stop. We're going to kind of walk on the treadmill. We're almost going to, like those videos where people slide off and they go flying against the wall. Yeah. Some of us are going to do that. That's real world. And that's what that is, though. In all that's the ramping up and ramping down of a system, modulating up and down. That's coming out of recovery where it's running at 90% capacity for the DCM. It's coming out of recovery. It's using more fuel at that time. So you're looking at the snapshot in time. It's the leveling down over the course of the heating season that will bring you within 2 to 4% of what is published on that sticker. So what does that mean? That means that you can actually use that, or sticker for the AFUE, but for your combustion analysis, what does that mean? That means that you can potentially, which has been done now for years, you can sell off efficiency on what's on the combustion analysis, because you can show somebody, listen, what you purchased years ago, 6, 17, 18, 19 years ago, was 84% efficient. Your combustion analysis, now it's showing it at 60, okay? So what we can do is, now we all have a copy of this analysis. You have a copy of it. My office has a copy of it. But what we can now do is we can give you a good, better, best scenario, and we can replace this equipment for you. And then what we're going to do as part of our service, and this is how we operate as a contractor, not meaning me, but meaning the elite contractors listening. This is how we operate. What we're going to do, I know I did this analysis for you now, but guess what? Our install crews did the same thing. Our install crew is going to actually commission your equipment using an analyzer. So they're going to set your equipment up the exact way the manufacturer wants it set up. But a byproduct of that, and one of the listings, as you're going to see again, is your combustion efficiency. So you're going to see the efficiency of your new piece of equipment, and it's going to be very, very close to what's quoted on your sticker here. So you're going to see that we're going to give you what you're paying for. So for example, if your unit's running at 60%, 40% of every dollar is going up the stack and not heating your home. If we're going to install one that's 94%, then 6 cents of every dollar is going up the stack, and the other 94% is going to heating the home. So we're saving you money. We're saving you money. So technicians can actually sell off of that, and they can use that as a precursor as those efficiencies start to drop or have a lot of variability, that the unit is starting to have misbehavioral type characteristics that they have to drill down on. So it could be replacing a part for now, or it could be saying, listen, it's coming to the point where we replaced 3 or 4 things in the last year to 18 months, all of which have cost you between $750 and like over $1,000. It's coming to the point where you're replacing so much, it's not worth it to do this any longer. Okay. And you can show them based on what the combustion data is, compare it to what it was before to what it is now. And then you kind of build that case out from there.
Now, I'm listening about the efficiency, and I'm kind of brainstorming here, because it seems like you're not just analyzing what's happening in that moment. Maybe the conditions have changed, and it's going to be a telltale reminder that conditions have changed, and this is what I'm thinking about. You let me know what you think. You come back to a furnace, and a furnace draws air from inside of a residence in one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And it's in a mechanical area, and say someone remodeled their house, and then the efficiency drops off considerably. Mm-hmm. You could have spotted some sort of home issue, not just outside, external to the furnace, but you can actually predict things, or not predict things, but analyze things that are happening in other places of the home that are affecting the furnace.
Yep. To your point, these people, everybody, they're doing things to their homes unbeknownst to you. And why is this relevant, or how is this relevant in today's world? Very simple. We are still in the midst of a COVID environment. Okay. Fauci's talking about more lockdowns, and, I'm looking like Bane from Batman, wearing a mask on my face with my bald head and all that. But
that would be awesome, by the way.
Right. So, well, you try to give me movie credits. I'm just trying to add into it and make a little bit more money here. So I'm just trying to be an extra. I got to put on a few more pounds of muscle and lose some fat. But
I think he just wore platform shoes.
He probably it's a cross between a villain and somebody from Kiss, I guess. But I just lost my train of thought. Oh, geez. Geez. Well,
I can buy you time at any time during this show. I can buy you time.
All right, this is a real life Salt in the Beard senior moment. What did you just say right before that again, real quick? Because I'll draw myself back.
Oh my gosh, I was talking about Bane. I was about to do Bane impressions.
Don't do that to me now. You're gonna get me caught into a loop. I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole.
I'm just gonna say this one thing, and then I'll try to really think about what you just asked me.
The envelope of the house. I know it. Forget it.
Oh man, okay, forget it.
This is me stepping on the host, which it's my prerogative. I'm from New Jersey. I'm supposed to. I'm only kidding.
It's for the best.
Do that anyway. So we talked about the envelope of the house. So in a COVID environment, what we have is people now working from home. Okay, and they're working from home, and they're saying, you know what? I have this nice boiler or furnace room here that I'm going to make into my office. Okay, they're going to do that. And they see the louvered door on there. And this is really pertinent if you have an atmospheric system, but even not, because you're changing the envelope of the house. But, I have this nice louvered door on there, but it looks foolish. I don't like that thing on there. And plus, I can hear my ne'er-do-well children on the other end because they're home learning virtually now half the time. So what do? They put the solid core door, and then it starts. And then what they're going to do is they're going to say, you know what? I can still hear above me in the drop ceiling. I'm going to seal the ceilings up now. I'm going to seal up the wall up to the ceiling and get rid of the drop ceiling in that section. So now what they've created is a bank vault for themselves. And what they've done is they've actually starved or choked that system off from getting any air to it, especially if you're using a system that uses makeup air. Some of those are still in existence. So that system is starved for air. It can't breathe. It can't function. So to your point, what you'd said, when these people do things, that's one of the things that the combustion analyzer can show you, is that you have those challenges with draft with different readings and the like, because if you're not getting enough air, it's going to affect combustion. It's going to affect draft. There's things that can be fighting for combustion air in general in the property as well. Again, people are doing things unbeknownst to you. Okay. And when you go out to diagnose these things, because you're also smart listening to this, right? You're not going after that. You're going after the mechanical things that you want to strap your brain onto, because you're highly intelligent mechanical individuals, men and women. You're not going after, you know what you did? You did some construction here. Do me a favor. Take the solid core door off, put the louver door back on. We're going to have to install a faux return grill in here because we need to bring more air in. So call it a day. You're not getting to that point yet. That might take you a second call because you're going to say, listen, it locked out. Let me just reset it. If it happens again, let us know. Week and a half later, they call you back. You go back out there. You look around, you finally see with some situational awareness that they did some work on the property.
Could be your first time there too, so you don't know what was previously going on.
Right. Or for those of you that have been to the same property for years, right? And you go into the furnace room or boiler room and you go to open the door, and you've been going there for years, and the door will always open easily. And then you go open the door currently, and it sucks back almost like it's got like a suction sound, almost like it's sucking back in, almost like the Starship Enterprise, and the doors open and close like a vapor lock.
Oh yeah.
That's because that person did work in that property unbeknownst to you. They could have done something with their roof that could impact the envelope of that home. They could have done something with the ductwork. They could have done something, putting another return grill in unbeknownst to you, or they could have had some renovation work done. A lot of things can take place on a property when we're not there. And it's up to us to look at what those things are and to look at the envelope of the house. You need to treat the home as a living, breathing thing. We are under the preconceived notion that what we're installing and what we are maintaining and diagnosing are plug and play things. They are not. Heating systems are living, breathing type things. They're using air to breathe. They're using fuel for food. They need to be treated as such. If we do not get under the hood and do a proper analysis of what it's doing internally, we don't know its soul. If you know its soul, it's like if you're a shrink. If you know the soul of your patient, you can look to go after those malfeasances within them, and you can look to hopefully correct their behavior. Well, if you get to look into the soul of a heating system, you get to properly diagnose it and start to correct it, meaning replacing parts, recommending replacement, making adjustments, and on and on from there. As we talked about before, being passionate about this stuff, yes, I am. But even if you don't like this topic, even if you saw that this was going to be like a TED Talk, right? Not that I would be doing it, but say a Jim Davis or say a David did it.
You got the good lighting.
David Richardson.
Might as well.
What's that?
You got the good lighting. I mean, that lighting is dramatic.
Listen, there is, it's funny from our last time. For those of you that didn't see the last one, it's on YouTube. There was this window behind me because Zach had said to me, Ty, we're just going to record this focal. I'm like, okay, great. I didn't think I had to do anything behind me. I had this window behind me that literally looks more like a halo than I have now. It looks like the Lord and Savior himself is coming in through my window to take me and drag me out because I shouldn't even be here. So now I have, I'm on in the 70s version of Star Search, I have this big light bulb above my head shining down me, but I did cover the background.
I think it's great. That. I mean, if you would just hit a little bit of Mother, I just killed a man.
Like a little Queen. Yep. Like I'm on the cover of the Queen record.
I like Don't Stop Me Now is a good one. I mean, you can choose.
Exactly. But this is live and in the flesh and in a house.
It's the best.
And also too, I do have a dog. So if you do hear any dogs barking, it's not that my wife and I are in anything odd. I actually do have a pet in the house. So there is that. So if you hear a dog barking, there really is a dog in the house for normal terms, for normal purposes. So
what is a dog?
A dog is a DAWG. See, all of you spell coffee wrong. It really should be CAWFEE. There's certain things we need to correct. Actually, I need to lessen my accent. There are certain times when I'm doing a presentation and I'll say a certain word and I'll just look at the audience and go, wow, that was horrible accent on my part. Even I heard it type thing. because sometimes it's really bad.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Hey, I like your accent, man. My relatives were from New York,
Oh God.
not city. They
Yeah.
were normal people. They were from upstate. They had the accent too. Let's go shop at Kaufman's. We're gonna go get some milk from Kaufman's. We'll be back
Yep.
in an hour. I said, "What are you saying?" I was like, "I don't know what you're even talking about."
And
I didn't mean
my in-laws are from Boston, so I didn't have an R at the end of my name. It was Tyla. I'm like, okay, I guess we're not having an R today. Awesome.
Yeah.
I guess I don't deserve that.
Well, not that I want to destroy my own podcast by leading you astray here.
Right.
Let me circle back. Hey, that's
Sure.
good. It's like the press secretary. We're going to circle back, and we're going to talk about residential versus commercial. Now, we just described some scenarios where it would come into play that measuring efficiency would be telltale signs, but it also happens in commercial because them suckers upfit buildings left and right and don't even think about the HVAC system anyway.
Yep. There are agencies out there now that, and the names of them I don't know. You can research it, but I was approached by somebody in the early part of the fall when I was doing a presentation out in Michigan, and they were one of those entities, and the name escapes me, but there are rebates available for commercial customers, industrial customers that have rooftops and the like, where if you go out and you do a combustion analysis and whatever the percentage of efficiency is, if you're able to increase the efficiency, not even in a large way, I think it's just a couple of percentage points, they will actually give that customer a rebate check. And you can look it up, Zach. I wish I remember the name. There was actually 4 or 5 individuals in my presentation in Michigan that were actually from this entity. And they brought it up to me. I didn't know it was a thing. But they will give you a rebate. And you can actually show in the combustion analysis. And they're not paying attention to your O2 and your CO and everything else, even though it's going to be on your report. But you're going to show them the efficiency before and the efficiency after. And everything is time stamped. You know, if you're using a proper analyzer, everything's date and timed and everything else. And just make sure for all those, this is a public service announcement. Make sure for all of you that are doing this for combustion, make sure you have a current and valid calibration certificate with your analyzer.
Yeah.
Because for those of you that are not aware, anything that your analyzer produces it's not accompanied with a valid calibration certificate. If it was ever called into question, the data produced on the analyzer would not be submissible, chances are. So if you have a valid calibration certificate, this shows that it's valid. So if you're going to create that kind of combustion data for a customer that's going for a rebate, just make sure, as an aside, that you have a valid calibration certificate in case that's ever questioned when the customer is trying to prove their rebate eligibility, so to speak. But those companies do exist. They exist on the residential level, Zach, as you know, for customers that are going to high efficiency. You know, we did a bunch of those here in New Jersey. I'm sure they happen around the country, where if you're going to go from an 80% efficient furnace to a high efficiency system, there are certain models or certain model numbers of units that will qualify for a rebate. And that usually is the AHRI certificate that you generate, get in the AHRI directory. But certain models and you have to match models with furnaces with coils or whatever boiler you're going to do, and make sure the boiler qualifies. But in that same token, where it's done residentially, it's also done commercially, but it's just done on a different way and at a different scale, and it's percentage of efficiency.
Well, if I do this and get this rebate, all I'm going to do is put a trash bag in front of the combustion air grill and then take it off, and then just like during the test, it'd be like,
look what I did, miracles.
I cut a new grill in, and where's my money?
Yeah. How do you find the time?
That's not an idea, people
Right?
out there. That's
don't
not
do
an
that.
idea.
Don't do that.
But that would so work.
I know, right?
Yeah, there's simple. All airflow stuff is easy to do. You can just put your hand over a pipe. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's it.
But as Jim Davis has taught many of us, you can put your hand over the pipe on one of these condensing gas furnaces, and it'll still work because it gets enough air around the door somehow.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep.
I could not believe that. I shut one all the way off. It's like, it's still running perfectly. What is the deal?
Yeah. Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The interesting wise, we had an issue here where I have it. I actually talk about it in my presentations. I have a couple pictures of it where a customer was having an issue with their system, and it looked like it was degrading from the inside out, like it was wearing away, and it just looked like it was aging prematurely. And through further inspection that I did, I took my analyzer, and I just wanted to test the quality of the fresh air. And it said 20.9, but I noticed there was zero pressure of anything. Like there was nothing. It was zero. It was flatline, no pressure. when you would measure draft from a probe. And I'm not trying to measure draft from the fresh air. I'm just checking quality of fresh air. I just happen to glance down and go, that's very, very, like there's nothing there. And I'm like, something's not right. And I look at the installers or the technicians. I go, do you have pipe in your truck? PVC, which now is becoming polypropylene, which is a topic for another discussion. But like, yeah, I said, well, do me a favor, go in and ask the homeowner if it's okay that you cut because you're having an issue here. And this was 10 years in the making, this issue, I guess. So I said, cut it. I said, I need to look, cut it. And they cut it. And where the pipe fed into, where there was a connection of the fresh air as it led into the actual furnace itself, where the PVC went into the furnace, the bottom of it here, Zach, the bottom of the PVC was covered in a cap of foil tape. 3 layers of foil tape covered the butt. So check this out. 3 layers of foil tape covered the butt end that was inserted in. When after this, I can send you the pictures of it. I'll take it from my presentation and send you the pictures. Okay. So what had happened was it was on this property, and there were 4 other properties where they had the same, like 2 neighbors. This one house and the neighbor had the same issue. So we noticed this issue. I'm like, this was sabotage. So this is not supposed to be. And you could see in the inner part of the pipe, and you look down and see the interlay of that tape. It was all cracked, like it had been there since the beginning of time, because all the air hitting it and just drying out the adhesive, but it stayed cupped to the bottom. So it was getting no air. So the whole system was starting to fail. They had an issue with the secondary heat exchanger on this thing. They had issues with everything. Only a 10-year-old piece of equipment. That was I don't want to give the manufacturer, but it was 3 different service companies, and 2 members of the manufacturer couldn't diagnose it. And a technician that called me up, he said, can you give some local love to something? I said, oh, I'm happy to. And so I went out there, and that's what I found. And it was getting the air. So to Jim Davis's point, when it can get air from those doors, that is 3,000% correct. It absolutely can. It doesn't want to, and it limps along that way, and you're not getting the efficiency and everything else from that system. But yeah, it can get it from that spot. And that's what happened. So the neighbor had the same issue, and then 2 other houses. And what the story was that I found out after the fact was their apprentice at the time, I guess, was very, very upset that he did not get boosted up to a main crew as a main lead guy on a crew. And he decided to sabotage those 4 things on his 2-man crews that he was on, because he was responsible for the piping. So when you think things are strange, things can be more strange than you can think out there.
I tell you
again,
what,
looking on the bridge of your nose.
It's wild that people will actually do that stuff, because you would assume, especially at your job, you would never see someone do something like that, not be capable of it. So it's kind of shocking that would happen, especially when it's like potentially he's an apprentice. So he doesn't know the ramifications fully of what he does. So within his mind, it must be still possible that these people could somehow get some CO poisoning or something out of this, because he doesn't know how likely that would be, 0 to 100%, because he's an apprentice. But that's shocking though, that someone could do that.
Yeah, it's making an effort to act like a fool, and it's a shame. But what was funny is as a result of doing that, because when I was there, the technician that knew me, he goes, Ty, you don't need your analyzer for this. I just need you to look at this. I just want a second pair of eyes. I'm like, listen, let me just look at it first. And I'm like, it's probably not. So I'm looking at it going, yeah. And then I was just curious, because and one of the things we can also talk about today, if you want, is cross-contamination. But I was trying to see what the issue was with the system. Because I saw the degradation inside the system, Zach. I was looking to see if they had cross-contamination in that system. So if you want, I can actually explain how you do that with an analyzer.
Yeah. In fact, what we'll do is we'll probably end up with this, because we're at 48 minutes. We'll do cross-contamination and pick it up on our next one. Okay.
So one of the things you can do with a combustion analyzer, well, everybody, in case you don't know, which I'm sure most listening to this are very educated know this, but there's combustion analyzer, 7 tools in one. It does combustion analysis, yes. It does ambient seal monitoring, which we've talked about, ambient temperature. It does draft. It also does gas pressure, because there is a pressure manometer built into the analyzer itself. You can check for a cracked heat exchanger on a forced air system with one, which we'll go over in the next iteration of this. And what I feel is very, very important is cross-contamination inspection, which is tool number 7. Okay, and here's what we do. And this is done for a condensing system. And this is very, very important. And most technicians don't know that you can do this, because currently when we check how a system is vented, we look at the spacing of the piping. Okay. And doesn't come down to just the spacing of the piping. There are other factors at play. You can have the pipe spaced far apart enough, whatever, but you have to remember there are other appliances in that home operating. You could have also a neighbor's appliance that is operating, okay, right? That is impacting the way that your system is running, okay, and pushing out its byproducts of combustion out into the atmosphere. And what we want to verify is the fact that we have, true to fact, 20.9% oxygen coming back or returning back to that condensing system. Because when it's vented to the outside, it's pulling, or fresh air, it's pulling in fresh air from the outside. So you have your exhaust and you have your fresh air. Your fresh air intake is pulling fresh air. It's not called a polluted air intake. It's called a fresh air intake for a reason. So it's pulling in fresh air. And your job as a technician or as an installer as well is to check the integrity of that fresh air. Not only when you install, not only when you're trying to figure out if something is broken, but also when you're doing a maintenance, okay? So you're going to tap into the fresh air intake the same way you would tap into the stack or the exhaust, right? And you're going to put your probe midway into that fresh air intake, 6 to 8 inches above the top of the unit, whether it's a boiler or whatever, furnace, doesn't matter. Put your probe in the fresh air intake, and you're going to look at the oxygen percentage, and it should be 20.9. If it's not, and it's 18, 17.6, 16.8, you have cross-contamination, and you have potentially NOx, because anything that's not 20.9% oxygen has a propensity to become NOx. NOx is an acidic, poisonous gas. It eats whatever it touches, okay? And in doing so, it wears down the inside of a system, okay? It wears down all the components inside of a system. So what do we do then? We say, York, Train, Carrier, McLean, whoever, God, this thing's a piece of garbage. Let's get this back to the manufacturer, and we're going to demand a new one, because there's no way they should be doing this 1.5 to 2 years into its life cycle, right? Not knowing the fact that we installed it either incorrectly or we had other factors impacting the way that the fresh air was coming down to our system, okay? It's like if your body is designed to operate on a certain amount of carbohydrates, protein, and fats in a healthy diet, and you feed it cheeseburgers every day, you're not going to look good a little ways down the line. It's the same kind of thing. If you're not feeding that thing quality air, 20.9% oxygen, you're impacting its performance, because those components are meant to withstand anything but, and they're not designed to run on anything but. So, and that's what an analyzer can tell you.
What about NOx rods? We got NOx rods. Didn't that save us?
No. Not going to happen.
Oh,
nope.
Man.
Yep. Well, so no, it's so for those of you that were not aware, one of the things that you want to do when you're commissioning a piece of equipment is you want to also turn on the other appliances in the house to make sure if something is vented outside, that your fresh air intake isn't pulling that in. I did this presentation for a very, very good distributor out in the Midwest. I did it virtually and broken into 2 parts, my combustion presentation, and then in person back this past fall. Well, when I did the virtual one, the part of the presentation I ended the first session was with cross-contamination. So when we came back for the second session a week later, the head trainer said, if I can just talk to the audience for a second, Ty, I want to tell them. And he told them the story where when he had his furnace put in, his wife, high efficiency, and it was vented out the side of the house, his wife was adamant about putting a boxwood hedge in. And he said at the time, he goes, I didn't like it because it looked foolish. He goes, it just looked like the Christmas tree from Charlie Brown. He goes, I'm like, why are we even doing this? But she won the argument, and they put it there.
Shocking.
Well, right, exactly. Because I've been married for almost 30 years, so yes. The simple way to appease is to say, yes, dear. Yes, yes, absolutely. No problem. You look wonderful. Yes, dear. Anyway, just kidding. As my wife is upstairs and probably wants to shoot me right now. But so what happened was that boxwood hedge grew into a mature hedge, but he never realized what had happened. And he would work on his furnace, and it's the old adage where the shoemaker's kids go without shoes. And he never had the time to really dive into it, but he noticed it was aging prematurely. And so after he took the class, the first session, even though he's an instructor and he's brilliant, He didn't know what he didn't know. He went back and he put the probe in the fresh air intake, and he was pulling back 16.8% oxygen. What was happening is the exhaust was coming out. It was hitting the boxwood hedge. Whatever didn't pass through was bouncing off, and the fresh air intake over here was sucking it in, the exhaust in, and it dropped it down. So what does he do? The first thing he runs inside, shows the combustion report, goes, "Look, honey, we have to take the hedge down. See it." So, but as soon as he did, and as soon as he put his probe in, he got 20.9. So when I did the class in person for him, or for them, for a couple of days worth, and I'll actually be there two weeks worth this coming fall, in October. But what he did was when I did the class in person, he followed me to the different locations. And when I came to this point, I said, "Anything you want to say to the audience?" He goes, "You betcha I do." And he told his story and he added into it. And he goes, "Listen, I'm the instructor. I'm the one that you all come to see for classes here. And I'm highly trained." And he's forgotten more about HVAC than I'll probably ever know. That's how smart this guy is. I mean, he's literally brilliant. You know, it's like a Jim Bergman type or David or a Jim Davis type, but on all aspects of HVAC. And he's a very, very intelligent man. And but yeah, so taught him that, and I've had so many technicians use it now where it's so much easier for them to commission and even diagnose something. And that's one of the first things you want to check is anything in there. Is there any kind of blockage too? Because if you can also detect blockages and everything else with it, but you need to have the integrity of the air, you know, to have some kind of at least semblance of a starting point to start analyzing things, you know, and then you look at gas pressure and look at those other things as they fall suit after that.
I've never checked it before.
Yep, you're going to do it now.
Yep. If it comes up here in coastal North Carolina again, I will do it. It may be
a
while, but I'll do it.
But if anybody's listening here and then actually does this as a line of work and has the ability to do it, I guarantee you're going to do it. And when I speak in front of audiences, whether I have 5 people in front of me or I have an audience at a convention of 2,000, doesn't matter. I ask for a show of hands, and invariably 95 or almost sometimes 100% of an audience will raise their hand. They did not know how to do that, did not know that was a thing. Yeah. And now they know that it's a thing, and they go ahead and they do it.
We make an assumption. That's what we do. We make an assumption. Hey, this is fine. It's going outside. What's the problem? I went 4 foot away. I followed the instructions. I looked for windows, all that stuff. We're invincible. It's not a problem.
Again, looking beyond the bridge, your nose. It's like CO safety. Don't just assume it's coming from the appliance that you're working on. 9 times out of 10, it is not. It's coming from something else in the structure. Okay. Your job is to maintain the safety of those people while you're there working, because you're the one with the tool in your hand that can do it, which is a combustion analyzer, or you're the one wearing a wearable CO monitor on yourself, depending on how aggressive you want to be with it, which everybody should be wearing a wearable monitor. Yeah. And that's a discussion we can have at another time. But
absolutely. No, I agree with you. Awesome. Well, let's give out your contact information, like home address or whatever, like if Social Security, if you can remember it.
Right. Sure. Date of birth, height. So I work for Sourman Americas. We're based out of Langhorne, PA. My email address is tyler.nelson@sourmangroup.com, which I'm sure Zach will post up after the fact, but there's two ends at the end of Sourman. So tyler.nelson@sourmangroup.com. You can go ahead and get that put in there. And then also my LinkedIn contact, I'm sure Zach can put up there for you too. You can contact me via LinkedIn. Don't show up on my home in New Jersey. Yep. Don't show up on my home in New Jersey because, you don't want to come here anyway.
We can afford to drive to New Jersey.
Listen, our gas prices are not that bad. It's worse than living in California, I guess. That's worse out there.
Oh yeah, we're not going there either.
No, I just can't get it. The fact that we have refineries in the northern part of my state and our gas prices should be the cheapest, and they're not. So
I think the pipes, they leave the refinery and exit your state immediately.
I don't think they come down as far south as I am. Yeah, that's the case.
Your LinkedIn profile's in the chat here. I'll put it in the video description and podcast description. If you're listening to it as a podcast, you can find it there as well. Right.
And I thank you for having me, and hopefully somebody learned a little bit more about why this is relevant, and hopefully they don't think I'm some kind of social deviant by the way that I went over this material. But
I don't think so.
At least we are. We both are then.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm going to tell you I am. And I see a couple guys in the chat that I know have room for learning. I'm just going to tell you, I know there's plenty of space to add new knowledge, so I'm not worried about it. I'm pretty sure they did. Tyler, we'll do it again, man.
Awesome.
I really thank you. I'm going to let
Thank
you
you,
go
Zach.
so I can talk to these deviants myself for a few minutes, and I'll see you on the next time you come in here.
Great, Zach. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, Tyler. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That was our buddy Tyler Nelson right there from Sour Man, but that's not a superhero name. Sour Man is not a hero that you'd want on your side or anything like that because it just sounds disgusting. It's a company that makes stuff, guys. We talked about it on the last podcast as well, combustion analyzers and a whole host of test instruments along the line. So I'm going to look here. Nick, I didn't just call you dumb. Nick, if you can recognize the fact that I was talking to the chat about room for growth and you recognize it and commented, you're not the one. Okay? You know you're not the one. So I'm just going to go down through the names here, not of the dumb people, I was joking, but of the people that are listening to the show or watching the show, whatever you're doing there, because a lot of people put the YouTube on in the background. We have Isaiah, we have Nick, Thomas is still with us, Steve was here earlier, Will Justice, what's happening? Our buddy Matthew McKinney is here, or was here at the time, Easy Heat, and who else is here? Raul Mesa, what's up, man? Good to see you here. Everything HVACR. As you know, this show is only existent because we have people that sponsor this show, and I'm going to tell you who they are right now. Should probably do it in the middle of the show, but an hour in will work. What I say is if we do it 500 times a month, a couple times at the end ain't going to hurt anybody. So we have our buddies at NAVAC with their new tubing expander that runs off of a battery. Just makes me want to expand tubes. NAVACglobal.com. And most of the people that we talk about, you can find at TrueTechTools.com as well. Hey, look, that's a segue. TrueTech Tools. Shop Talk discount code. You save 8% there. Whole bunch of random stuff. Hey, Tyler, I know you're still down there. As you can see, I added one of your pumps up there just for fun. Okay? They can't hear you talking, but you can... Heck, I'll bring you back for a second. Tyler, do you see the pump up there?
I do. All you got to do is add one of our analyzers up there, and we'll have a happy day. But yes,
yeah, we'll move that testo stuff out of the way for you. We'll get the hood out of the way, and we can put like one of the analyzers up there next time. But I said he's going to get a kick out of this because I made that before this show. I was like, I'm going to put one of their pumps up there. People are going to be like, why is there a condensate pump up there? It's Sour Man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Zach. You are too kind.
That's no problem. I'm going to let you go again. I just wanted you to comment on that.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, take care. That was our buddy Tyler coming in here. I can tell I have about 2 more minutes before I start hacking, so I'm going to go as fast as I can. Oh, it's getting bad. I can tell. I have to play a video. RefrigeTech.com, refrigeration technologies, all the coil cleaners for your preventive maintenance season on air conditioners. You will be in hog heaven, refrigetech.com. You can also find those at TrueTechTools.com. Power through, Zach. Let's take a 1-second break here. Here we go. Okay. I'm glad you guys didn't hear that. That sounded bad. I sound like Doc Holliday going to the sanitarium. EWCcontrols.com, our zoning products here. I have the BM Plus 3000 in my house. It works great. A lot of settings you can manipulate to do whatever you want with your system, which is good because I had to manipulate that system to get it dehumidify. So thank goodness for EWC. You see, they also sell thermostats. That's a wireless module right there. And we have some zone dampers, which are the bread and butter. Also, last but not least, actually, there's 2 more. There's Yellow Jacket has this new manometer they're coming out with. That's in May. So that's kind of preemptive right here. I put it up on the screen. But when I saw it, I was like, hey, they have a wireless manometer. That's really nice. It will be here in May. But Yellow Jacket also sells about 1 million other things. And you can find those all over the interweb at your local supply house. Last but not least is Company Cam. Company Cam allows you to consolidate your pictures from your jobs and communications with your other job site members, your boss, whoever in the job, the front office people. They all know what's going on. It's consolidated and easily cataloged so you can reflect back on it. Just a good system to have to cover your buttocks. Again, that's what I emphasize. Cover your butt. It's the best thing. Go back to the comments for just a moment. Looks like, oh yeah, we're doing Doc Holliday impressions now. It's great. We can do that all day. I was about to do one during the show. I cannot remember where it was, but I was going to do a Val Kilmer Doc Holliday impression. I don't remember. I feel like if I do too many impressions, it takes all the professionalism out of the show, and I just can't do that, guys. I'm too dedicated to being professional. But I will do it now because the guest is gone. I'm just kidding. I won't do that to you guys. Plus, I'm about to hack and cough again. I need to get out of here. Hopefully I see you guys tomorrow. Not sure what time that'll be. Just stay tuned. If you want to join our text list, which I remind you when we go live, I'll send you a text out. You can go to the description of this show or to the podcast, and you will find that link right there. It's a Google form. You fill it out. It asks for your phone number. It asks for your phone carrier because when I convert email to text, I need your phone carrier. So it's nothing weird. Like if you have a Verizon phone, I have to do 910 blah, blah, blah at vtext.com. So that's why I do that. So I just want to let you guys know, Nick, I'm not invading your privacy, Nick. I know you're one of those patriots that might believe this is a scam, but it's not, Nick. So I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Work safe. See you tomorrow. I'm going to go cough into a bucket. And I'm just kidding. Or am I? I don't know. Could be. But you guys will never know. I'll see you guys on the next one.